What is good? Notification gang, we in here. Shout out to you if you're getting notified when people are posting videos on YouTube. I'm missing a lot of videos just in my regular feed. I don't know what's up with that. It sucks, but I realized that if you get notified when people are dropping videos, you won't miss them. So, if you got notified of this video, shout out to you. What's really good? We're going back to the well. I started this What's Really Good series late 2015. I only made one entry. This is going to be the second one. It's one I wanted to make for a while. But, unfortunately, a few of the games I wanted to show I cannot find. I'm deducing that they were either in the second box, kind of the odds and end box of stuff that got taken, which is kind of highly unlikely, but possible, or they got mixed in with my brother's stuff, or maybe somebody borrowed them, didn't tell me, whatever the case may be. But all that doesn't matter. I was inspired to make this video when I found this at the Savers store, and that is the Resident Evil long box on the PlayStation 1. I did a quick little unbagging with Little Crack, so check out that video if you're interested. I think I scooped this up for, I want to say it was either $1.99 or $2.99 at Savers. A fucking steal. And I'm going to tell you guys, what sparked this whole video is actually when I really sat down and took a look at the packaging and was kind of immersing myself in this score. When I took the disc up to look at the back of it closer, I was instantly transported to my childhood when I saw that picture underneath the disc. Now that's just such a nice little detail, and it's just immediately when I saw that, it's one of those things, I forgot about that little detail of this version of the game, but as soon as I saw it, it was like I was reliving my first experiences with this game, because this is the version that I played the first time I played this game. So I'm going to talk about that specifically. When this game was new, relatively new, one of my friends got it. His birthday was on a Thursday, a school night, and he got it for his birthday, and he came over to my brother and my house, because we had, really, my mom was like, she didn't give a fuck, right? Like, you could come to my house, you could smoke cigarettes, right? You could do whatever, man. You could shoot meth into your dick if that's what you were into. Not that, well, I don't know if people were doing that at my house, but I don't think people were. But like, you could get live at the crib. You know what I mean? You could bring girls back. Whatever, man. My mom was like, I don't give a fuck, whatever. So a lot of people wanted to come to hang out at my house, my brother's house, especially if it was a school night. But a little backstory about that. My brother and I's childhood, from like preteen, kind of all through adolescence, right up to being a teenager, was a fucking nightmare. And I don't mean like a Resident Evil style nightmare. I mean a social nightmare. Because we were those kids that, our mom would tell us at 11 p.m. we needed to pack up our shit and get out of the fucking house that night. You know what I mean? Like, wake us up. Like, we gotta move. We gotta get out of this house. I got another apartment lined up. An even smaller apartment, right? An even shittier apartment lined up, like the next town over. We're moving now, That happened a lot. It wasn't rare. It should be rare for a kid to go through that, but it wasn't rare for us. And so we were those kids at your school that you probably hated, that got dropped into your school, like, partway through the semester, school year, a third of the way through, halfway through, whatever, right? Hollering at your bitches and shit, getting in fights. Like, that was us. And it really, kind of shaped my personality in a lot of ways. Because, like, when I was a kid, I felt like I was kind of vulnerable. But when you kind of go through that type of social torment, it hardens you up fast. And, like, getting in fights and shit, it will, make you kind of a savage in a lot of ways. So it really shaped a lot of elements of my personality that I wasn't aware of at the time, but now I can really understand why certain aspects of me are the way they are, and shape me into the the crack that is both loved and hated today. And it was because of that, you know, and it sucks. That shit sucks. I don't wish that on any kid, especially because both my brother and I were really big into playing basketball. And both of us were, I don't want to toot my own horn, but we were both pretty decent at basketball. And it was really hard to, you know, start on the basketball team when you just moved to the school, you know, and you were pissing off another kid that was on the basketball team. And that's something I had to deal with for a long time. And then you would be playing your friends because you just moved from the school that you're playing, and it sucked, you know, it really fucking sucked. But all that said, one of our friends that we were down with, we were tight with since we were little kids, was our friend that came over with the PlayStation. And back in the day, I was alive before the internet was a thing, right, that everybody had in their fucking pants pocket. We used to communicate with a fucking telephone, right? You know what I'm saying? You had to remember people's phone numbers. That's how we got down. Later on, it was AOL Instant Messenger. But we always kicked it with this kid, and we're still friends to this day. It is our boy, and he got a Sony PlayStation with Resident Evil 1 long box and Tekken 1 long box for his motherfucking birthday. As soon as the candles were blown out and the paper was off the shit, he was at our house like, let's get down. Now, we played a bunch of Tekken 1 initially, but it was kind of whack, not because I love Tekken 1. Tekken 1 wasn't whack, but we only had one controller, so that was kind of whack. So after, you know, playing that for a while, we're like, well, it's nighttime, you know, let's holler at some girls, see what's good. Nothing was popping, so we're like, it's dark, let's play this horror shit. And we didn't know anything about about Resident Evil, other than what was in, you know, the video game magazines we used to look at when we were loitering at the drugstore, or whatever. Nobody I knew played it. This is a big deal. It was groundbreaking. Let me just say that. This shit was groundbreaking. From the opening cinematic to when you're first in the mansion. Of course, we played as Joe Valentine the first time through. When you see that zombie lurking over your homie and just eating him or whatever he's doing to him, and he turns around slow and looks at you like, I think it's safe to say all three of us were like, wow, this is special. This is something totally new. This is amazing, because we were all into horror movies and shit. That was alive. Some other points in the game that were really memorable from that session of playing the game. Well, all the puzzles, like, when you got through one of those puzzles, it was like high fives and like, holy fuck. You know, some of them were really easy, some of them were kind of tough, whatever. But anytime you beat a puzzle, that was a big deal. But one of the craziest parts was when spoilers, there was that like well-lit hallway you're walking down with the windows kind of on the right-hand side of the screen, and that fucking dogs jump through. That was like my first real jump scare. You know what I mean? I'd never been exposed to that before. That was crazy. That was crazy. I wasn't playing at the time because we had one controller and we passed it around when one of us died or whatever. Still scared the fuck out of me. One part though where I was playing that had the biggest impact on me to this day was the giant snake boss. I threw the controller, left the room, fuck it, I'm out. I don't chill with snakes, man. I do not get down with snakes. If I'm like hiking or camping or you know, doing white people shit, and I see a fucking snake, I'm out. I'm done. Later, I'm going to wherever there's the biggest paved area. Even if I gotta stand on top of a car, I'm getting the fuck out of there. If I watch a movie or play a game where there's a snake, I pick my feet up off the floor. Snakes freak me the fuck out. They don't got legs. You know what I mean? How are they moving? They're like wiggling their spine. I'm not with it. I don't want nothing to do with it. I've come a long way since then. I've touched a snake that was it was like a captive snake. It wasn't a live snake, a domesticated snake. I've played a lot of games with snakes and it's gotten better. But it's not. I could never share a house with somebody that has a live snake. No fucking way. I know Play On Go's got a pet snake. You're a savage, fam. I don't know how you do it, man. I couldn't fucking do it. I'd always be worried it's gonna escape its tank and fucking just eat me or some shit. Choke me out. I don't know. I don't trust them. I don't like them. But if you do, that's cool. It's just not my thing. I like puppies. You know what I mean? They're furry. They're soft. Whatever. So yeah, Resident Evil. I see that snake boss. Fuck that shit. But the game is awesome. We played it all night long. Like, school the next day was a fucking joke. I was so tired. I think I was like missed my first class. Probably stuck around for my second or third, and then by lunchtime I was like, I'm going back home. Fuck this. But yeah, awesome experience. Had such a joy playing that game when it was new. And we beat the game with our friend, like, over the weekend. We finally beat it. Felt like a bunch of fucking rocket scientists when we saw the credits. Now, that said, my brother and I, soon after that, we got rid of our old systems and games and shit. We're like, yo, PlayStation is crazy. That was our first exposure to the PlayStation. We're getting a PlayStation. Not for Resident Evil, for Tekken. So we traded our shit in. We got a PlayStation 2 controllers, Tekken 1, played copious amounts of Tekken, and then, of course, Tekken 2, Tekken 3, we got all of those, and the Tomb Raider games, obviously, because I was like, yo, Lara is fine as hell, like, seriously, I'm in love with a polygon, like, this chick is made of triangles and puts, like, most of the girls in my school to shame, you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, oh, you're dating Susie? I'm in a relationship with Kraft, you know what I'm saying? I'm chilling in her mansion right now, well, as soon as I get out of school. So, I know that's weird or whatever, but, like, I thought that Lara was just fine as hell. And, yeah, man, so that's just a little window into my first experiences with Resident Evil, a little bit about growing up a young crack. And, you know, it was weird because after the first Resident Evil, I didn't stick with the series. I got so immersed in playing fighting games with my brother and our friends, in all different types of fighting games too, not just Tekken, like 2D fighting games, all kinds of fighting games, not just Tekken style fighting games, that I never really even cared about the next Resident Evil 2 and 3. Honestly, I thought they kind of looked a little bit corny, and I just never played them. And a large part of that was because they, you know, more cinematic experiences, and I was more into, like, the arcade kind of fast-paced. I got the AD motherfucking D, let's play a quick round of Tekken type dude. And it was more of a social thing. So I recently went back and played Resident Evil 2 and 3 maybe like 2 years ago, a year ago, I don't know. It was fairly recently. Though Resident Evil 4, when that came out, I played it immediately. And there was a lot of hype around it too, but that was an amazing experience on the PlayStation 2. And I do consider myself a huge fan of the franchise, but more so the original. Like, because of that memory of playing it, the three of us at my mom's shitty apartment, like, all night long, well into the morning. So I thought I would, kind of share some of the Resident Evil 1 stuff that I have. Now, keep in mind, I should have the GameCube version. I don't know where it is, as well as the Green Label PlayStation 1 version, the director's cut. I don't know if I mentioned that at the beginning of the video or not. If I didn't, I meant to. If I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry. But I can't find them. So that's kind of a bummer. I'll have to replace those. But the copies that I still have, I showed you guys the long box Resident Evil 1, which is, of course, the most nostalgic. But I also have the Wii, the port of the GameCube remake. This was nicely done. I like that you can use the GameCube controller. Another thing I really admire about this version is actually the disc art. I always thought that disc art was just really, really tight. So that's kind of a cool one. Still really cheap to pick that up. Another one I got, and this is one I kind of lucked out on, was actually the Resident Evil 6 Anthology. And this actually comes with the director's cut of the first game. The problem with this is none of the games are on disc. well, with the exception of Resident Evil 6, it just comes with vouchers. I was lucky enough to get this game at GameStop, and when I saw the game, I'll show you guys what I saw, is one of these stickers over the barcode there, and when you see that, I'm trying to highlight that R. When you see that black R on like a typical, barcode sticker on a game at GameStop, right there. Now, it's not their typical, sticker that you see on the back. Like, here's like a more, like a more typical sticker that you'd see, like just the straight barcode. But when you see one with that black R there, that means that it was converted from new to pre-owned. Typically, 9 times out of 10. So I was like, well, I still haven't played Resident Evil 6, so I'll pick this up, and there's a good chance the codes aren't used. It was missing the slipcover, which was unfortunate, but the codes inside were unused, so that was really nice. Otherwise, this is pretty much worthless. It's essentially just a copy of Resident Evil 6, but the nice thing was it came with the codes, of course, for the Director's Cut, Resident Evil 2, Nemesis, 4 HD, and 5 Gold Edition. And 5 Gold Edition is still, like $20 at GameStop, so that was a nice little score. But I wouldn't recommend you go out and find the Resident Evil 6 anthology unless it's sealed or you're positive the codes haven't been used, which I'm not sure how you could really be positive. One of the remakes of the game that I personally like the most, even though it's not technically great, but I think it's kind of cool, is the Deadly Silence on the DS. This is full of gimmicks, like you blow into the microphone and just tons of gimmicky stuff. But I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it, and this was a great way to kind of jump back into that universe. Really enjoyed this, and this is, again, it's still pretty cheap to get. In fact, the game is actually in my 3DS case because I played it like a couple weeks ago again. Really enjoyed this. Definitely worth picking up if you're a fan. And wow, what I think takes the cake is, of course, this version. This is just gorgeous. There's still some kind of ugly textures and some things that don't look great, but I think it's phenomenal. Overall, I think they did a great job with this. This is, of course, a Japanese import. The cover art is actually reversible. You'll see it does say Biohazard on the spine on the inside because it is the Japanese import, and it actually came with 2 manuals, one being Biohazard and one being Resident Evil. I thought that was kind of a cool touch, honestly. I really liked that. And it came with a voucher for like a video or something that I have not yet used, and I'm not sure what it is because I'd probably have to add it to my Japanese account, I'd imagine, to get that to work, which I do have, but it's not something I navigate a lot because of the language barrier. But this is phenomenal. I'm not sure like what the deal is with the one that's coming out on PS4. If it's just includes this and then like a similar remake for 2, whatever it is, I'm still gonna get it. Maybe not right away, but eventually. But if you're really curious, I would say that this is awesome. Looks great, plays great. Controls, are still a little wonky, but they are improved. Awesome game, guys. One of my favorites of all time, and I just wanted to make a video to talk about some of my experiences with it. This video has been a long time in the making, but not being able to find those 2 copies of the game kind of slowed it down, and I wasn't even going to do it, but I was like, fuck it, let's just do it. Who cares? I would love to get the Saturn version. That is like one of my grails for the Saturn. Unfortunately, I don't think I've ever seen it for less than like $60. Maybe one day I'll pick that up if I can find a good deal, or maybe I'll trade or something for a copy. But that is definitely the version of the game I kind of drool the most when I see it. Like the PS1 Director's Cut and the GameCube version, like that can wait. I'd much rather have the Saturn version now than like reacquire those either way, it is kind of a loss that those are gone. That fucking sucks. Whatever. Right now, I'm just actually just venting some frustrations I have that you guys probably don't care about, which is a sign that I should wrap this shit the fuck up. See you next time on either a vlog or a what's good or a flex video. I'm not sure what's in store, but I got more in store.